And we're live. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. I'm Tanya Bugby with Tanya Bugby Coaching and Consulting, going live with Chris Yarranton. I'm so excited. I really am. I've been kind of bugging him to do this for a long time. So, yay for being pushy.
What's it been like a year of you asking me to come on here?
I wasn't even going to say how long it's been. So, yeah, it's been at least a year of
Yeah.
bugging you. Yep. So, obviously, we're both tenacious. All right, everybody. Oh, let me put the chat on. That's good. There, the chat's on. Uh, for anybody that's new, we don't know you're here unless you make a comment. So you're welcome to be a fly in the wall and just listen. And we don't know you're here. And if you want to participate, please make a comment anytime you want. If you want, tell us where you're from or what you do. Please talk to each other in the chat. It's more fun, the more the merrier. So now I'm going to officially start and turn this over to Chris. Chris, introduce yourself. Hey, David. Thank you. I want to do a quick plug for David. He did a great job on my business cards. And David, I believe it's next week. I have a post on LinkedIn about business cards. So I hope you see it. Anyway, I digress. Chris, introduce yourself, what you do. Go for it.
Hi, I'm Chris Yarranton, and I'm a financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual. And I help people attain their financial goals and create the life that they want to live. So,
Yeah. And it sounds so easy. And I think I know better.
it can be pretty simple.
It can be, of course. Okay, so let's back it up for a minute. One of the things you and I were chatting about behind the scenes. Hey, Rachel. One of the things we were talking about behind the scenes is you and I don't have like a straight linear path to our professions. Like we have been very unique and out of the box and creative and have worn different hats. So share a little bit your journey. And hi, Susan. Thank you for showing up. All right, go ahead.
So, I think the question was, what's your journey? How did you end up from point A to point B? I ended up in San Diego because I went to UC San Diego. I studied biology, and I was 100% going to be a marine biologist. That was my dream. That's what I wanted to do. Until I realized that right as I was graduating, I was going to spend about 10 years in a nice, dark, musty lab. And then I was like, I thought I was going to be on a boat. But that did not happen. So,
I was on the boat.
Yes, you were. At that time, you might have been. But I ended up kind of pivoting, staying in San Diego, figuring out what I was going to do with life, became a swim coach, ended up going the swim coach route, becoming the highest level, training them on land as well. I started my own personal training business, got licensed in that, and then I got recruited to be a business coach. As I became a business coach, they realized I was pretty good at finances. So I had my main presentation through that training was on finances. A lot of the coaching that I did was on finances and how to better make sure that your business is set up for success on the financial side. And then I left on my own venture with my wife, your daughter, Tanya. Yes. Anya.
Yes.
And we opened our own granola company, which we did eventually shut down as Anya got pregnant, could no longer do as much of the heavy lifting, literally and figuratively. And she was not able to help run that business. And I didn't have the time to take all of that on. So
Sure.
I was the one that sat down when we were launching that business to make sure it was financially viable. It would make most people throw up to look at an Excel document that had so many columns and so many pieces of information that all contributed to the fact of this is how we're going to price our bags, and this is how we're going to run our markets, and this is what we have to make sure that we're actually going to make ends meet, and we're going to have a green business and our red business. And we actually did accomplish a pretty big feat. We became green within, and green meaning like we paid back all of our money that we put in by 11 months. So by 11 months, we were a 100% green company, which was pretty amazing thing to do. It takes companies a pretty long time for them to do that, especially not in the first year. So it was really, really great. It was a great experience. It really just accentuated the fact that I wanted to be in finance and make sure that things were in the right, that I was in the right space. I went into real estate. As soon as I got my real estate license, I realized that I should have gotten my lending license because
Yep.
numbers and the money and all that.
Well, and you're definitely money oriented, right? So yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always doing a checks and balance in my head. So that was one of the first things that we did when we got married was we sat down, we looked at all of our finances. How much do you make? How much do I make? What percentages go where? How do we make sure that you have an emergency savings and that you have your own like savings accounts? How do we contribute the same amount equally and fairly into our joint accounts? How do we pay off any debt that we might have? Like all of that stuff. It's just a way of life. And if you understand the numbers and you understand the concepts and you understand the vehicles, you can really do a lot.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And it just kept on creeping up. And there were times when before Anya and I got married, we sat down in Pepperdine. And I was like, I feel like I should have gone into business and I should have studied finance and I should have become a financial advisor. Well, 7 years later, here I am today.
Yeah.
So
yep. I love listening to your journey because I was in high school and I was determined to be president of the United States. And so I love watching what's going on right now. And, that was it. I knew I was going to go to Georgetown. I was going to go, back east, got a full ride, going to go to law school, and I'm going to go into politics and become president. And then I meet a guy. And at 17, my 17-year-old free spirit hopped on a boat for 8 years, and obviously life turned out differently. But I love your journey. I want to brag though a little bit. And so David said, big accomplishment. Yes, I am really in awe with Christopher's focus. And yes, he's my son-in-law. And him and Anya, and Anya is very fortunate because Anya didn't get a lot of this growing up. Most kids don't get this kind of education growing up. And Anya got some of it because I had a great coach and because I'm a coach, but not as much as I had wished I had given her. So she's very fortunate that you were very patient with her. You guys spelled it out. And during COVID, you guys bought a house, which super proud that you guys bought a house. And I know how much equity you have in it now. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was a good decision. That's a funny thing. It doesn't take one person to make the best decision. It takes two. I like to think of it like you have two different minds because there are different ways that people look at each other. And my way of looking at things was I had a condo that I wanted to maintain and hold on to as an investment property before we sold, or I didn't want to sell and buy using that equity. However, Anya kept on pushing and being like, hey, let's go look at properties. Let's go look at properties. And
well, I know when my daughter makes her mind up, it's made up. I do know that, right?
So what ended up happening was she was the one that actually found this location. And then I was the one that was like, no, we have to sell and we have to buy. Like this is going to be amazing. And so it's a little bit of both, like someone pushing and knowing the value of doing something now, but also someone seeing the potential in the future. And you don't always get both in the same person, but that's why two heads are usually better than one.
Yeah. You complemented each other. And yes, your location, what they're building, what they've built around where you've been, because you bought it in 2021 or 2020.
No, we sold the little condo, the 1-bedroom that we had in February 2020. And we actually put the deposit and everything and signed the contract on this property January 2020 because it was a new build.
Right. Yeah.
So we closed on that April 8th as we thought the world was imploding
Right.
We didn't even know if we were going to get the loan closed at that
Right.
point.
No, I remember. Yeah, it was pretty hairy, and of course, yes, it was the beginning of COVID. So, yeah, yeah,
People are like, you can't go and meet and sign and do all this stuff. You can't do it virtually yet, all of that. So,
yeah.
but
It worked
sometimes
out.
it does. Yeah, it worked out. And it's one of the biggest blessings that we've ever had. So,
Yeah, yeah. Very lucky. So now here you are, financial advisor.
yep.
Yep. What's a do you have a funny story yet around it? Like I know there's confidentiality and I want to honor
Mhm.
confidentiality, right? But is there any kind of like maybe as you were studying or anything that's unique or something that stood out that a story around financial advising? And you for me you can share whatever you want because you're obviously dealing with me too.
Yeah. I would say that probably the funniest story that I have is when I was getting licensed. Uh, so I was the only person in my entire class to get licensed before I actually graduated from their academy.
Mm-hmm.
But what ended up happening was I signed on with Northwestern Mutual, and it was right before London was born. I was studying for one of my licensing tests for investments. So it's my investment trio of tests that I have to take and licensing that I have to take. And I was studying for it, and it was the first one, and I hadn't yet um, completed that test or signed up for that test before. And you have to have certain things that are checked that I didn't know about, and that Northwestern Mutual hadn't told me about yet. So I have been studying my butt off for about a month, and I reach out to them. I'm like, I'm ready to take the test. And they're like, oh, we need you to do a couple of things first. You have to sign this, you have to sign that. So this whole process took about a week. Well, London came 3 weeks early. And so my goal was to take the test before she arrived. And I got the okay email to sign up for my test the day that she was born.
There you go. That's what happens now. Welcome to fatherhood,
Yep.
right?
So
Yep.
then I had to take a hiatus for like 2 weeks and not study. And then I had to spend another week of catching up on studying again and just kind of refreshing. And then I took the test at the end of that. So it was about 3 weeks late because she came 3 weeks early, but that's
There
okay.
you go. And life will never be the same.
It will never be the same.
Yeah.
On a good note though. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hey, I just want to back up on some of the comments. So Susan said she's on her last couple of bags of the Nutty Duo granola. Mine's all gone. I have none left. So I'm envious, Susan, that you do. And
We ate
Mark,
all
thank
of
you.
ours. They're long gone
Yeah,
too.
they're long gone too. Yeah. Yeah. And Mark says two heads are always better than one in a marriage. So thank you, Mark. Most of the time that is absolutely the case. Yeah.
It's true for anywhere in life, right? I mean, financial advisor, we're putting at least two heads together to help with financial plan.
Right.
Coaching, that's the whole point, that you have experts to come in and help you tweak and prod and poke and just kick the tires, make sure everything's going well.
Right. Yes. And to be able, so that's what I've enjoyed working with you on my finances is just having another set of eyes
Yep.
and seeing things that I don't see.
Yeah.
Because it's not my expertise. And also coached me through some of my, oh, that sounds scary, right? So I do not make decisions based out of fear being a coach. Yep. However, it doesn't mean I'm not fearful or I don't have feelings of fear. However, that's where I come in and ask a lot of questions. And you've been so very patient with your time explaining things to me so that I'm not fearful and I make decisions based out of, a positive outcome and not make decisions based out of fear, which I don't believe in.
Which is what we do in financial planning. The entire point surrounding it is not to necessarily grow this amazing amount of wealth and be super successful and have a ton of money that's saved for X things. It's actually to be efficient with your money, to save efficiently so that you can enjoy time right now and time in the future. But
Right.
the biggest thing is that we want to create this little space between where you are and where you want to go, and have a buffer when things do hit the fan. You don't need to react emotionally. You can take a breath and say, I have a financial plan that I can lean on during this time. I know that I am protected. I know that I'm taken care of. I can focus on the high level family stuff, and my finances are already taken care of. I just got to follow the plan.
Right. Yes. And I know this is going to sound extremely corny, and being at my age, I now am saying the word retirement. I mean, I couldn't believe, I have two grandchildren, right? One is one from you, that's and Anya, and the other one from Katya. So saying grandma was a huge adjustment for me 3 years ago, the first time. It was like, when did this happen? I know how it happened, but how did this time go by so fast that I am now a grandmother? Huge adjustment period, not being a grandmother, adjusting to the fact that all the time that had passed.
Yeah.
And all that time, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that has not focused on the retirement financial piece. Right. I mean, I have since maybe the last 10 years, but man, I wish I started when I was your age or Anya's age. Right. I mean, I really didn't focus on it until I became single at 50. So I mean, I'm not asking you for a percentage, but reassure me that I'm not the only one that's kind of waits. Yeah.
Not the only one. I have conversations with people that are in their 60s. I have people that are in their late 50s. I have conversations with people that they're in their early 40s. Here's the thing. You are where you are, and that's not going to change. What's going to change is what you do from that position, what you do from where you are. And the thing is, with a great plan, you can adjust to whatever you need to adjust to. You just need to know what levers to pull.
Yep.
All right. And
yes.
there are methods and there are modes. You could be behind someone that is 40 years old. And if they don't have the right planning in place and you put the planning in place right now, you could actually do better in retirement than they could.
Yeah.
They could have more money saved than you do right now. But if they don't plan for specific outcomes to happen, you could end up in a better place. So you never know what is going to happen. So that's why we always take protection first. We always take risk first. And we always take care of that. And then once we know that we have made sure that you're going to have the resources and the income and whatever it is lined up for you in the future, then we get to play with all the other levers.
Yeah. No, and I am certainly, I have some regrets, and I don't want to live in regret. I don't. And I'm also proud of what I have accomplished in the last 10 years. And, I bought a home as a single woman, and I was so proud of buying a home in Southern California and being able to keep it, and all of that. However, I certainly could have been a lot more focused. And so, Susan, thank you for sharing, right? That's very brave and courageous of you for sharing. And Mark, so it's not a male-female thing, right? So for Mark, I highly recommend Susan, Mark, reach out to Chris or to any financial planner. I'm not going to ask you to leave your financial planner if you have one. However, this 60-year-old woman, and it's not because he's my son-in-law, because I told him if this doesn't work out, I have to move in with him and my daughter.
True.
So now he's highly motivated to make sure it works, right? But reach out to Chris. That's why he's here to introduce himself, and you're comfortable not reaching out to a stranger. Mark, I want to help you, right? I'm a business coach. I'm a real estate coach, so here to help, and so is Chris.
I also want to shine a light here also really quickly. If you take the average person and when they really get serious about planning for their financial future, we can lump everybody into right around their early 30s, right? Where you're not in your 20s anymore. You really do start to hone in on that. But I want to shine a light on this. If they take that light, they shine it at 35 to 65, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
30 years for them to accumulate wealth and make sure that they have a good financial plan and to do something with investments and things like that. Well, if you retire at 65 and you live until 95, that's 30 years as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so a 40-year-old saving till 65. And if you're 65 and you are planning for the next 20 years, like, we still have time to make changes to get money where we can make it work, because you've still got a pretty long runway. And if we're strategic with how we set the money up, it's actually amazing what you can do with where your finances are in retirement based on when you withdraw your money. And we've had that
Yep.
conversation.
Right.
It's
We have.
all about strategy. It's not necessarily about amount. Someone with $3 million going into retirement for 30 years could end up with $0 left in the bank at the end of those 30 years. Someone with $1 million can end up with $1 million, 1.5 million left in their account. It's all about how they use it during retirement.
Yeah. Right. And I agree with that. And you've been teaching me that. And my goal is to retire at 70. And maybe not totally stop coaching, because it is something I'm extremely passionate about. However, I can pick and choose my clients, right? And have a couple of my favorites, Susan, Rachel, right? And then be grandma more often. And David, I'm going to go off topic for just a second. So just so you can put it in the comment, because you said t-shirt. Do you do swag? That's my question for David. And Susan, I know you're very free spirited. So I don't know if you see the comments, Chris.
Yeah, I saw Susan's. I wanted to comment on
Yeah,
that, the
please
one that she
do.
just wrote in there.
Yeah.
So, Susan, thank you for commenting. I really appreciate just how candid you are. The scariest thing for me is I figured you need to have money in order to do financial planning. I'm busy treading water and living on the edge of survival because I'm a risk taker. So here's the thing, and I love that Susan brought this up. You don't need money to have a financial planner or a financial advisor, especially not one like where I am with Northwestern Mutual, because we don't charge by the hour or anything like that. We don't charge you to sit down and have these conversations and to make a financial plan, because we get paid on the back end from insurance agencies and we get paid from assets under management. We don't actually get paid by you giving us checks. So you don't actually have to have money to be able to say, hey, here, take my money, let's sit down, let's make a plan. All you need is an income. If you have money coming in, you can sit down and make a financial plan, and we can direct where your money is going to make it as efficient as possible. So anyone that you know that ever says you need money to have a financial planner, please correct them and say you don't need money. All you need is an income.
There you
Sorry, I
go.
get off the soapbox a little bit when I go over that.
That's okay.
I had the same thought. I was always like, oh, I'll do it when I'm making X amount and I've got plenty of discretionary income. That's not the case.
Yeah. And I'm going to, again, do a little, I also love how, because you were, a professional coach, you are very good at explaining, coaching your financial plans with people and your, expertise. You do it in a very coachy way. Yes.
I like to think of myself as a financial coach when I am actually working with people, because it's not my vision that needs to come to fruition. It's yours. And you need to know where you want to go. You need to know what you want to create. And then I help you build a path. And that's exactly what coaching is.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Any other questions? There you go. I'll let you two connect with each other. And right before we stop, Chris will, shout out how to find him. And again, Chris, you can go into Facebook and, connect with Susan and
100%.
Whatever you want to do. So we're going to stop for just a minute because we're almost time, but I want to play for a minute just because Susan said she can't see, only comment she can see is Rachel. So Susan, And David said coaches in the room. Yes, there are. Susan, you're not seeing anybody commenting from LinkedIn. So David's commenting from LinkedIn, and I believe Mark is commenting from LinkedIn. So number one, Susan, do you see the sentence underneath Chris and I? I want to know if Facebook people can see LinkedIn comments that I click on.
Mhm.
But if I change the chat like this,
Bam.
Susan, Rachel, do you see Facebook and LinkedIn? I'm just curious. So if Mark or David, if you, hey Karen, if Mark or so Karen's from Facebook. So Karen, we're off topic for a minute, just kind of problem solving some of this restream stuff. Just somebody make a comment if when I change the chat, if you can see other platforms. When I go the other way, I don't know if David, if you could from LinkedIn, if you could see Facebook comments. And I don't know. So I'm going to wait a minute to see what you guys say, and then I'm going to switch it back. And let's see what Rachel said. Yes, but it's tiny text. Okay. It is tiny. It is tinier this way. And Mark says now. So Chris, and I'm going to have to problem solve this as far as this is the way it's going to have to go in the future for everybody to see each other's comments.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll leave it this way for a few minutes. Awesome. So again, to Susan, thank you for your being so candid here on our live. And Karen, if you have any questions, we'll be here about 5 more minutes on financial planning. I love Chris's story, so it's worth going back and hearing the root. All right, I gave you a heads up that I was going to ask you this question, and David says just LinkedIn. I don't know. I'm going to have to figure this out, David. Favorite movie, favorite book, favorite song, what motivates you?
So my favorite movie, if you're talking like from childhood, this is my favorite. It would be Jurassic Park, just hands down. That's a nice little fun one. But if I was to give more of like a personal growth movie to watch, I would have to say that my favorite movie in that realm would be The Pursuit of Happiness.
I was just going to say that. Literally, and you and I did not talk. I want to say that you and I did not talk about this behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And I was just going to say Pursuit of Happiness only because it just showed up like on Netflix or something, and I just recently watched it. But yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah. It's a very inspiring movie. There's lots of great movies that are out there, but yeah, I'd have to say Pursuit of Happiness. The favorite book of mine is also The Wealthy Gardener by John Zaforik. It's a really great book, along with Think and Grow Rich, which I think most people already know about. But the Wealthy Gardener is one that not a lot of people know about. So
yeah, that's a good book. It is a good book, and I do have a book club with the clients that I coach, and I do need to come up with one for September. I think I did, and all of a sudden the name just left me. And I know, Susan, I think it's the one that you recommended. So if you want to post that, that would be great. But The Wealthy Gardener would be another one I would consider doing for September. And Steve Westberg says Vision Quest is yes. Hey, Steve. Yeah.
Nice. Love it. And then in terms of music, I listen to a lot of very inspirational songs and music. I would have to say that my number one inspirational song would be Remember the Name. So I don't know if you guys have heard that. It's more of like a rap rock mix, but Remember the Name is definitely my favorite. So
yeah, that's cool. I'm gonna go look it up. So yes, A Christmas Story, Mark. Absolutely. Yeah, that's another good one. Yes,
Love
that's
it.
the one I was thinking of, Chris. I recommend The Full Fee Agent by Chris Voss, who wrote Never Split the Difference, which I have read twice. Never Split the Difference. So that's another great book. If anybody has other great books you want to post in the comments, go for it, because most of us are into, growing our businesses or personal growth or whatever. Yeah.
There's
All
a
right,
ton of
Chris,
great books out there. So
anything else that I didn't ask that you wish I had asked? Anything you want to say before we end our half hour?
I would just say, don't limit yourself in what you can create, because the only limitation that you can put on that is what you think you can create. It's all dependent on what you believe is possible. So if you are doubting what you can do in retirement, you need to talk to someone that's a professional that can show you exactly what is possible, as long as you believe it, because there's so much you can do. You're a powerful person wherever you are. And if you have the ability to put your mind to it, you can make it happen.
Yeah. Spoken like a true coach. And before we wrap up, anybody else have any questions at all? I'll keep an eye on the comments. If you have any questions, we're still here for a few more minutes, so shout them out. Chris, why don't you tell people how they can find you? Social media, email, whatever.
Yeah. So you can reach out to me directly on my cell phone. My number is 650-270-8855. You can reach out to me via email. It's Christopher.Yarranton, my last name, Yarranton, at NM, N as in Nancy, M as in motorcycle.com. And then you can also find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or you can find me on Instagram as well. I believe my Instagram handle is Christopher_Yarranton_NM. And then, I have a Facebook page on Facebook, which is Christopher Yarranton Northwestern Mutual. So
lots of places. So Chris, I'm going to ask you, when this is finished and give it a couple minutes to upload to the sites, you can actually go into the comments and put all that information in there.
Perfect. We'll do.
Rachel's got a quick question. Do you help with investments?
I do help with investments. We protect, optimize, and grow when it comes to financial planning. So the growth part is the investment side. Northwestern Mutual has a ton of CFPs and CFAs that are all making sure that you have some great options in terms of ways you can invest.
So Susan, Chris is going to go in the comments and put his info, but Susan, if you don't mind, I can send Chris your contact information.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right. Thank you, Chris, very, very much. Appreciate your time. It was worth the year of waiting for you to come on. I'm thinking I go live once a month with Karen and Charlotte. I go live with a broker, a lender, and it's like a coach, a broker, and a lender walk into a bar, and we have fun once a month. I'm thinking you and I need to go on once a month.
Yeah. Any way I can help. That's what I'm here to do. Help as many people as I can. So
yeah. Very cool.
Susan, yes, I was a Buffini coach back in the day.
I kept it in the family, Susan. All right, everybody. See you later. Thank you. Bye.